Hi, Gaye DeRusso with the Majestic Rider. So here today again with Flyboy. This is his second week here. He's a Rocky Mountain horse that has had some issues with pacing. So this is just showing you his progression, and he is doing much better. So he didn't do this lateral flexion very well when he came, but he's doing it pretty good now. If you're looking at my vest, I have a 2-point vest now I'm trying. So far it's very good. It has a zipper so it doesn't catch on your saddle horn as much. I'll let you know how it goes with the vest. But it's new to me, but so far I like it. So I'm doing the lateral flexion to get him to give to the bit, to understand to turn his head but not move his feet. People fight about if they like this or not. It's up to you. I like it. It helps a lot with so many different things. He's young, so he loses his attention span at times, and that's up to us to keep it and to focus him. So now I'm going to do vertical flexion, which just means I'm going to pick up on my reins, apply light pressure, see if he can connect the dots, and lower his head down. He's coming. Sometimes it takes a bit when they're focused on something else. When they do things like walk forward, don't let them. Just back them up where they were before and then put them back. With a young horse, they're going to make a lot of association. So you're trying, that's why he's getting unfocused here, trying to get him to understand what you're wanting. So I want him just to put his head down, not to back up. So when he backs up, I just keep holding till he figures out she wants to stand still, and that's when I'll release. And you might say, well, how does the horse know the difference between you want to back up or you want its head down? When I want its head down, I just apply pressure, no leg, no seat. When I want it back up, I lean back, I apply pressure, get his head down, and then add leg. So holding his head tells him don't go forward, and the leg tells him to go backwards. If they're confused, I apply a little bit more pressure on my reins until they figure it out. When I'm riding and I want their head down, I just apply pressure and leg, but not as much hand pressure, and that way they don't go backwards, and we're already going forward, so it's much easier for them to figure out. But this is normal. Again, this is much better than it was, so always be happy with any little success you get with the horse. He went to sleep, so I applied a little bit more pressure until he came back to me. Okay, so remember, his main problem was being pacey and not being able to walk. So I couldn't flat walk or anything. So what I do when I take him out, just you know what my preparation is the first day he's back to work after time off, I run him around and then I lunge him. And I try to get him to trot on the lunge, and then I do a lot of cantering because both those things are going to counteract the pace. He can canter because he can trot. So those of you who have ones that are really hard pacers, you might not be able to get that horse to canter without using poles or jumps. So you use what you got to use. Then what I do is lunge him over the poles for 5 minutes, even though I lunged him just to kind of loosen him up and get him to stretch his back. And I went 5 minutes in each direction. That was the first day, and then I rode him around for an hour. Now today's the second day, and I lunged him, but I did not lunge him over the poles. So now I'm walking over the poles. Again, if you have a tripper, just lunge them over the poles. Don't ride them over the poles until they can go over all those poles, paying attention, lifting their feet, and not tripping anymore. If they're tripping and falling on their face, you do not get on that horse, okay? You got to teach them first, and if they're not getting any better, you get the vet out because something's probably wrong with them, okay? So all I'm trying to do is get him to relax and walk over these poles. And if you go back to his first video, you can just search Flyboy and all the videos will come up that I'm making on him. You'll see he couldn't walk over these that well and actually almost fell on his face with us. Go boy. So now I'm going to go outside the poles because he's doing really well. And I don't want to go any faster, and that's the hard part because when he came in, he could not keep the same speed. He really had no clue what to do. So he was going faster and slower. And then he was also pacing pretty much the whole time, just different kinds of the pace, like a hard pace and then a step pace, but none of it was good. So you got to teach them in steps, and this is the hard part. Your horse's paces, and you got to make sure it has the foundation so you can build upon, and he just really didn't. Now, I'm not letting him go to the bathroom by stopping, because that was one of his tricks too, and he just poops one poop and gets a break, and then you got to restart. So I'm going to keep putting my leg on him, and in time I'm going to carry a stick so he knows to keep going when he's pooping. He can walk and poop. It's not that hard. I'm not making him do anything crazy. Okay? But see how he can just walk now, and it's only been 1 week. He was totally confused, and in 1 week I got this horse walking. Now, he might have different times where he speeds up or paces or does something, but it's much, much less than it was that other week. Now, I like to time things so I know how long I'm going for. So I like to work the horses in a circle because it helps to separate their legs. You put a little bend on them, and that'll get those legs separated and help you a fair amount. It also teaches your horse how to balance itself underneath you and get their weight to the outside of their body, because they're going to be stronger when their weight is more towards the outside versus in to carry you. Okay? Doesn't matter so much when they're loose, but it does when you're riding them. So there's certain things we got to get out of them when we're riding them versus, if they're just running around being goofballs. Okay? But this is 1,000 times better. 1,000. Than it was. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk 5 minutes in a circle, and then I'm going to walk all the way around the arena, probably 5 minutes too, just so I don't bore you guys too much. And then I'll do it the opposite direction. I am not making small circles. I am not, see, he's slowing down here. This is where he got to poop. I'm not making small circles. I'm not doing leg yielding. I'm not doing anything like that. No lateral work, because he was so confused. And I know they already put that on him. So all I got to do is, once I get him to just walk and speed control, that he doesn't change his speed unless I ask, because that's what he was doing, going fast and slow, and I wasn't asking that. Then I'll go back to doing the whole arena routine and work that stuff back in. And I don't want to go any faster, because we want to make sure that his walk is solid. And that's a problem with a lot of people, is you don't make sure their trail walk, which is this slow walk, is solid. And it's just usually the pacey ones, not the trotty ones. They usually walk fine. But the pacey ones can walk. They can pace slow. They can pace fast. They can pace to the next town over. They can pace everywhere. And so all we're trying to do is get him to keep the same speed. So get your pacey horse to walk, separate its legs like I showed you in that first video, and then just practice walking. Listen to music, whatever you got to do. There he almost paced, and I half halted to keep him out of it. There he sped up again. So see, I told you it wasn't going to be perfect. He's going to try here and there. Now that's the third time, so now I'm going to back up. And I'm not going to back up a little, I'm going to back up a lot. Like, you want to pace? Well, this is associated with the pace. So if you want to keep pacing, you just go right ahead. He's like, no more pace. So you got to make sure you get that message through. And as a young horse, it might take them several times to get the message through their head, because they're unsure exactly what you're telling them. So you have to make it enough that they can understand. So just like I gave him 2 half halts in 2 different spots, and then he still proceeded to pace, so that's why I backed up. In the beginning, I was backing up all the time. So what I'm trying to get him to do at this walk is to separate his legs, drop his head, relax his neck and back, and just stretch out. Now, he's not heavy on his forehand like Blue Jay was, so I'm not so worried when his head is down. But if you have one heavy on the forehand, you got to be careful on how low you let them put that head down, or they might just start to get too heavy, and if they trip, they might fall on their face. Okay? Now, that one spot, I could feel him trying to get a little pacey, and then he didn't do it. So what that tells me is maybe something in the arena is affecting him right there. And so what I'm going to do is when I go through there, I'm just going to try to bend him just a little bit more to try to help him separate his legs in that spot. So everybody thinks, the horse is naturally gaited. You just get on and go. No, you have to learn how to ride. You have to learn how to balance. You have to learn how to do a half halt, how to stop, back up, put all that foundation work on, and how to help your horse, because they can gait most naturally. Here is where I'm going to bend them more. See me opening my hand up a little bit and get more bend? So I'm being a proactive rider. I know he's having a problem, so I'm trying to help him there. But you got to put everything on the horse so you have ways to communicate with them. But many people don't want to do that. They just want to get on and go. And so even if that horse is naturally gaited, you can have them not gait so well. You might keep going past what their natural gaiting speed is, and that's why they keep pacing or trotting. So I don't know why nowadays everybody's lazy. Nobody wants to put in work. It's a journey with your horse. This is a relationship. If you don't want a relationship, then maybe just go to a trail place once in a while. But horses really want to bond with people. They're willing to do what we want, so I don't get why people don't want to bond with them. But they really want to bond with you, and if you bond with them and they know you keep them safe and take care of them, they will try to do most anything for you. And that is a gift. So don't abuse the gift, help them. So there he just sped up. I put pressure on the reins, and what do you know? He tucked his head in, because that vertical flexion I taught him in the beginning, that's what that meant, is when I put pressure on both reins, you tuck your head in. And so he's learning. So that was good. Good boy, fly boy. Now there he sped up again. So every time he speeds up, I don't pull back hard. I hold pressure. I tighten my fingers around the reins to tell him no. And if that doesn't work, I keep my hand pressure the same. I'm still going to bend him right here. And now I can see it does dip down a little bit. But I keep my hand pressure the same, and I just... Now there he got a little pacey. I felt his back end come up. I'm going to keep backing up. But you see, it's the same spot, so it's not totally his fault. So I'll try to go in a different spot, or maybe in the deeper footing over there next time. But he started to raise his hindquarter up, and that's what he was doing before when he was pacing. Okay, so now we're going to go straight, and we're going to walk around this whole arena. So what else am I going to do while I'm working at the walk? I want to work on this horse being straight, because he was very crooked. So once I get to the other side, I'm going to ride down what we call the quarter line of the arena. It's not in the middle. It's not on the rail. It's in between those two areas. So I'm going to turn. This guy might distract us. Who knows what he's going to be doing over there. So as I turn, inside rein, inside leg, and then outside rein and outside leg, and then I hold them right in between those two. And you want to pick something to stare at. You'd be surprised how many horses are crooked because they've either just been following the trail or going against the fence to hold them straight. So now, as I'm going around and trying to hold him straight, he's having a little bit of problems. He tried to surge forward a couple of times instead of staying straight. So he's got to learn to travel in a straight line. So when you're riding on the trail, say you don't have an arena, pick a spot in the trail and follow it and work on your horse's straightness, because that straightness can make a huge difference in keeping your horse's gait. Because when they go out of gait, a lot of times they get very crooked. It's because their hindquarter went one way or their front end went another, and they're trying to get away from you, or they just don't understand to go straight. But you always got to stare at something, focus, because otherwise you will not stay straight. You want to keep those eyes up the whole time. Now his head came up, so I applied a little pressure to bring his head back down, and then I'm just giving to him. But if he pulls on me, or he brings his head way up, I'm going to hold pressure to ask him to bring it back down. Okay? Now I'm going to stare at my mounting block, and I'm holding him straight. He's drifting a little to the right, but he might be trying to do a leg yield if they did that. And so I'm just going to hold him straight. So on the trail, you pick things to stare at. He memorizes things. Every time I get to that spot, he slows down. He's like, I pooped here. Wonder if I'll get to poop here again. I'm like, no, you're not going to poop there. So this time I'm going to go over the pole just to help him stay out of the pace, because this is the pacey part of my arena. And always sit back when you go over poles and look up, because you just never know what they're going to do. So I want to keep holding him straight. Work on straight lines. Okay, I talked about all the lateral work before. Now work on straight lines. Sometimes just go down the trail, holding your horse straight, picking things to focus on and get to. And other times in your arena, focus on staying off the rail and trying to steer your horse in between your legs and your hands. You will be so surprised on how crooked your horse might be and how many problems that causes. Okay? So hold them straight. Good boy. So you can say good boy and all of that, but don't stop. Just keep walking. When you got one of these pacey ones and you finally get it not to pace, you want to keep going. Get rid of that pace. Because if they stop, they're not going to be as warmed up. That's why I do all that warming up. It helps get them away from the pace. All of you just get on your horse and go, and then you run down the trail and you have a pacing horse. That's a big problem. Why? Is that horse is not warmed up. He started to almost go into a pace there. So every single time, you have to be consistent. Every single time, just not once in a while, do I back up. Every single time he tries to pace, I back up, so he connects the dots and understands pace means back up. I don't want to pace, because that backing up is not fun. That's a lot of work. But you got to warm these pacey horses up. Lots of walking before you gate. Lots of lateral work if they're not crooked like him. And again, we're going to do that lateral work, just not yet. But, I mean, when I first started him, that first video, I probably, in a row, got maybe 5 steps of a walk that was decent. And now you see I'm making it around the entire arena. But you got to do lots of walking. Lots and lots of walking. But with some horses, especially young horses, one thing at a time, or you'll confuse them, and then they put all those things together, and then they're going crooked, backwards, sideways, because they really don't know what the signals mean. So that's why just walking with him, because I'm trying to make sure he's positive that I mean walk. And that's all I want you to do is walk and keep this same speed. Now, each time I got over here, I went over the pole and he did well, and then he got a little bit pacey right after the pole. So I'm cutting the turn, and I'm going to hit this next pole. So anywhere in the arena that they keep pacing, put a pole there and just start going over the pole to help that horse understand what to do with its legs. The reason they're pacing is because it's easier for them to balance that way. They haven't learned any other way to do it. So what you're trying to teach them is, hey, there's a better way to do this, and I'm going to help show you. But they don't know, and they have no idea what the difference is. So you have to help them, and just putting a pole in those areas for a month or so can make a huge difference in keeping that horse out of the pace, and then you can do it with your half halts and lateral movements. Okay. So I know, not very exciting. So when I'm trying to hold him straight, I usually pull out like this. And I left my gloves off, so hopefully you can see my hands better. I'm doing something weird with my finger right there. We all do. And so I like to pull out versus pulling back, because I don't want to add more pressure. His head's low enough. We don't need it any lower. And so I pull out to the side, but you'll see my reins are pretty straight. They stay straight. In other words, I have the same contact on his mouth until I'm sure he's staying in this walk. So that'll be more towards the end of my riding and going the other direction. But right now I'm just keeping a straight line and just helping them understand, even though my hands are soft and giving, that when you need help, I'm here for you. When you don't need help, sure, you can put your head down, stretch out, and relax. But when he needs help staying out of the pace and I'm on a big, long, loopy rein, by the time I shorten up to help him, he's already going to have a couple steps of the pace, so he won't know it's wrong. Then I'll start pulling on them, and they'll be like, what are you pulling on me for? What did I do wrong? Because they've already been pacing a whole bunch of steps, so they won't make the connection. So you want to catch it right away. Now, there's some horses that are not hard pacers. They're kind of step pacers, and they walk real well. It's just when you're going for their gait that they go into that pace, so they're not pacing like he was at the walk. Those horses, if you're trying to get a saddle gait, you can usually do a shoulder in or a leg yield, and that can get them out of the pace or just gait them over the poles, and that can help. But again, you must stay consistent. You have to do it all the time and build that muscle up for them to do it well, because the hard pacing horses, it's very easy for them to go and just swing their legs, and it's pretty much like getting your paycheck and not doing your work. Why would you do anything else if you're getting paid anyhow? So you have to spend the time getting them out of the pace, working in the arena if possible, or in a pasture somewhere where you have the same footing over and over again, so they understand what to do. Okay? And you got to feel the walk has a back and forth motion. He had a couple little issues right there. Let's go the other way. So see, I'm not even going to do a turn on the forehand. I'm just going to walk across the diagonal. Then we're going to go back to the poles in this direction. So no breaks or anything. We're just going to keep walking. So we want his feet to hit the ground 4 separate times with the same space in between his legs. So when people are counting 1, 2, 3, 4, that's what we're talking about. Their feet hitting the ground, but the same space between those legs. Now, by keeping that same space in between their legs, they're going to have more legs on the ground, so when we start adding speed, it'll keep them smooth. If the legs are not truly separated, you'll usually get something more like a step pace, and you're going to get a little bounce in the saddle. Some horses, yes, that's the best you can do because they're wired and you're, not a trainer. So in some horses, if it's somewhat smooth and you get a little bounce, but the bounce isn't that bad, that's okay. But if it's a big bounce, no, that is not okay. Okay? Remember, going over the poles, always look for the next pole. And keep your eyes up and sit back. So each horse is different on how it will gait, but this one can trot and pace, so I know he can separate his legs quite well if we do it correctly. One that just hard paced and trotted at all, I might tell the people, well, I might get it really good, but when he comes back to you, if you don't ride it correctly, it might not be as smooth as I had or as leg separated, but if you're happy and that's pretty good, be, happy with it, unless you're going to take online lessons and really indulge into it so I can help you make a better rider. Because again, a lot of it's the riding also. Okay, so now we're going to go outside the poles, okay, and we're going to stay in our circle. Now again, for lots of people, this is extremely difficult. They don't want to stay at a walk. For other people, they enjoy doing this. So for those people who don't want to stay at a walk, you might have to get someone else to do this for you. But you have to stay the same speed. You see, I have not gone up to a flat walk. And if he offers it, you're like, oh, good, I'm getting a flat walk. No, don't do it. Because if he offers it and I let him do it, guess what? He thinks it's okay to speed up all the time. So no, even if he flat walks for me or just gave me a great gait, I'm going to shut him down because he needs to learn that he needs to stay at this speed of walk until I tell him anything else to do. I want him so bored out of his mind and so relaxed that he gets those legs so separated. And then again, all I'm doing is if his head comes up or he gets distracted, I apply more pressure by just tightening my fingers on the rein. And if that doesn't work, then I bend my elbows. If he's getting crooked, I'm kind of pulling out to the side and not pulling back because I want him just to know that pressure means put your head down, or if I add more pressure, it means go backwards. I want there to be no confusion. So there he just threw his head, paced a little bit, but came right back to me. But I still corrected. I was like, nope, put your head back down. Let's go a little sideways and make sure you didn't get confused there. And again, it might have been the footing. It might have just been him. Who the heck knows? Our arena is difficult because our arena goes up and down, so it's probably just like yours. And you got to ride this because the terrain changes what that gaited horse does underneath you. And they're going to do the easiest thing to carry themselves and to carry you. See them playing on the bit, so I'm just holding steady. Don't give in when they start yanking and they're playing on the bit. So I got to help him with the footing. When I feel he's starting to change, his legs are getting pacey, I want to do something about it. Now I am going to stop because he's dragging a pole right by. I'm going to get his head down so he's paying attention to me. Now I'm going to vibrate the bit. So I'm squeezing with one hand and then the other. Then I'm going to breathe. Because this is weird. He's dragging a big old pole past us with that tractor. So this is just trying to get his attention on something else. He's not a spooky horse. But why take the chance? Be a proactive rider. Okay? So when you see something coming, don't wait to see if your horse is going to spook. Do something about it and distract your horse and get their attention on something else. Okay? Now, he's still a little focused on it. You'll see there's rugs next to me to the left. There's a mechanical cow down there that I got to get all the horses used to. Don't, some of you are just chickens because you don't understand horses at all or what to do. And that's why lessons with a good trainer helps build up your confidence. Learn that if something weird's in the arena, come show it to the horse first. Don't get on it. Go lunge it by it, take it up to it, let it see it, let it get acclimated, walk by it both directions, and let that horse see it before you get on. And then work it some and then start going up to it. But you got to be proactive, and that's how you build up your courage, because you're like, oh, that went really well. I wore him out, I brought him up to it, and then I rode him by it. He was just fine. He don't care at all. Versus you didn't lunge him or anything, and you just got on the horse and didn't pay attention because you're unaware that might spook him, because you don't understand horses spook from pretty much everything. But anything that moves or weird or wasn't there the day before, they might notice, especially if they're sensitive or a spooky horse. A dull one might not notice, but normal horses will notice because their life usually depends on it. So the more you know, the more tools you'll have, and the more confident you'll become. The less you know, the less tools you have to work with, and you usually do the wrong thing, because we instinctively do not know how to ride horses. Some people do very well, but most people do not. So we usually do the wrong thing, make the situation worse, then you fall off and get hurt, you think it's a bad horse, and it's pretty much you just don't know how to ride. Not all the horses. There are some bad horses out there. But a lot of them, people just are not doing the right thing, And so if you're proactive, you teach the horse, and you take lessons and learn how and get a good instructor. If you're going to trail ride, you get someone who takes you out on the trail. If you don't have somebody, you go to horse camp, and that means you go somewhere with a good trainer, me, somebody else, and you come ride with us, and we'll put it all on you, but then you got to go home and practice, and you might have to come back again in 6 months and do it again. But you got to learn. Somebody's got to teach you, or there's a high likelihood that you're going to get hurt, because horses are reactive and flighty and extremely dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. All right. Now we're going to go around the arena, and we're going to walk down the quarter line, which is in between the rail, which is the fence, and the middle of the arena. See how he's playing with the bit? Don't get fooled by that. You just hold still, and when he's not playing around, release. Don't get in a fight and match with him or anything like that. In the beginning, they'll do that with every different bit. But, if a month's gone by and they're still doing it, then it's probably the bit. And you should change to something else, because it might have a little bit too much tongue pressure on them. That's where your snaffle works off of, is their tongue and the sides of their mouth. But some horses do not like tongue pressure at all, and you might need to get something with more of a port or a rounded mouthpiece. Okay, so he's a little crooked, so I'm trying to straighten him out with my right leg, and then you hold him straight. To do this, if you're having problems, remember I made that video with how to use your legs, and I'm using a ball, and you just push the ball back and forth. So you might have to, if you really have no clue, bring a ball in the arena and try to walk the ball down the quarter line using your legs, pushing it back and forth and holding it straight, because that's what you have to do with the horse. There, I just felt him getting pacey. So again, I have to correct him every single time, or that pace could easily come back. I mean, he's only been here a week. Now he just yanked on the bit, and I just held. Try not to release. It's very hard to do, but you do not want to release when they yank down, or that's what they learn. And again, he's got every reason to yank down. He's like, I'm bored. This walking is boring. I did what you asked, blah, blah, blah. Can't we do something else? And I go, nope. You put your head down and you study. And that's that. Remember as kids, that's what they made us do. Practice writing, practice doing this, practice that. We didn't want to do it, but now we know why we needed to do it, right? All those people who didn't do any math, they can't add. So you got to learn the things because they're going to help you survive. So, see, he's not doing much pacing at all. This is very, very good. But he's still paced there. Yes, you did. Keep going. So see how then he was trying to take a break, and I'm like, no, you need to move. Now he's going a little fast because I kind of thumped on him and he had a delayed reaction. So now I'm just trying to hold him back to the speed I had him before. He just looked to the left. I just pulled to the right. He's pulling down. I'm holding. Now he's kind of getting sideways, so I pushed him with my right leg. So I'm just telling you all these things I'm doing that you probably can't see me doing, but I have to hold him straight. So he's doing much better, and he's even doing better than he did yesterday. So when am I going to start flat walking? Well, I would love to flat walk because I hate going slow. But I think he needs at least another day of just doing this and making sure he's staying the same speed. Okay? With no matter what's happening, the dogs are running around, that he just stays the same speed and walks with his head down even though he's bored and stays straight. And then I'll start adding in a little fast walking after I do this for probably 20 minutes or more, and we'll see how we do. So it is very difficult to make yourself do this, but if you don't, and you have a horse that can pace at the walk, you will not get them ever to gait that well. There's lots of people contacting me. I make all these videos, and I'm happy to send, specific videos to you if you tell me what the problem is. But you'll contact me, and some of the people, I tell them what to do, and then a month later, they contact me again like I'm a different person and ask me the same question. And then a month later, they contact me again and ask me again how to fix the gait. Well, I know they haven't done anything I've said. They're not trying. They haven't taken any online lessons. They're just looking for that secret answer. And that's why everybody's used tricks with gaited horses, because why train them when you can use a trick and, get a smoother gait? Well, there's a lot of reasons. So long feet put more pressure on their tendons. We're not letting you stop. Long toes also put more pressure on their tendons and ligaments, and a lot of those horses will get contracted heels. So is that good for the horse? No. If you want a long-term horse to ride, contracted heels is not a good thing, and put more pressure on their tendons and ligaments so they break down as they get older is not a good thing either. They put weights on them. That's not good either. The shoes are heavy enough. If, you're going up a little bit, that's not as bad. But when you put those monstrous shoes on, that's just crazy. At least in my book. It doesn't help them. And then people contact me lots of times about rescue horses and show me a video of an ex-big lick horse, and it's all broken down walking on the back of its legs. So if you do things like that, you have to know that it damages the animal. And we do so many bad things to them, and they do so many nice things for us. Is that really fair? I don't think so. It's up to you, but I don't think so. All right. So here we're doing pretty well. He's like, is this ever going to end? And what I'm going to do, I want to end it up at this end because they're always attracted back to the gate. But overall, he's done really well. There he got a little faster, so I'm just holding the same pressure till he comes back down. Good boy. Okay. So overall, he's done really well. He can now walk, so I know soon we're going to be able to try to get our first gait is the flat walk. I don't want to go for his rocky gait. I want him to have a nice flat walk first, and then once we get that, then I'll go for the rocky gait, because then I know he'll have good leg separation. He'll understand the things I'm telling him. Good boy. And it'll make it much easier for him. And that's what you're trying to do when you're teaching your horse to gait or get its gaits back because you messed him up or your friend messed him up. You're trying to make it easy on the horse. They didn't do it on purpose. It's because somebody taught them that way, or they were never taught how to use their legs correctly, even though they're bred for it, how to get that gait. So take your time, teach them correctly, learn how to ride them correctly, develop a feel and timing so you can keep them in their gait. And it is so much fun, but it is a learning process. And because they can do so many different things, for the people that are, nope, so I want him out of my space because he's touchy-feely and he's got to learn he can survive without touching people. For his benefit, because again, someday he might touch somebody, they think he's going to bite him and they smack him in the face. So teach him to stay out of your space and just be there and not be all on top of you. They have to learn manners to survive. So see that one foot coming forward? That's not allowed. He's got to stay where I put him. But you want to teach the horse, and you can't teach him if you don't know. So you got to take lessons. Go ride gaited horses, but go with gaited trainers who are really training the horses, not people just selling them and running them all around. They're not going to teach you how to gait, or they're going to tell you the wrong way. That's not best for the horse in the long run, because a lot of those horses are just step pacing. So learn how to do it correctly, learn how to ride your horse correctly, and do the best you can for that horse so you keep its longevity and you don't do things that are going to hurt it in the end. All right. Back up. And when you back them up, make sure they stay back, even though I want to shut the camera off, that he stays back there for a minute before you go, or again, he won't make the right association. All right, I hope that helps. Remember, like and subscribe to keep the videos coming.